you might actually just take it on board like the only job you have, or a coupling affair in this world that says you need a job, but it's just the exotic taste you're after. Just liking to taste a couple of things, but not really. Yeah, we know you didn't have to be the cultural dependency. Yeah, okay. So fancy having to roll that out by sell one, sell a million, and your whole country never got it. Because you and your hypnotic wife or husband says, I know, we really think that we need to improve our red cell blood count. So what is it to suggest that you need to be paid for your mouth so that somebody will kiss your ass? Because if somebody won't kiss your ass, you won't be paid for your mouth. Then doesn't that just make you an auctioneer anyway? Then what is it to sing the song just for the stage play? Just like the radio. Now all of a sudden you're not auctioning off somebody's stuff under copyright distribution attachments. I know you're on a remote island doing that. You're in a remote little pocket where special little someone's tuned into you. It was all right. You did it to yourself. But people can tune into you. But that just says, oh, no, but I got a license to. Well, how do you bloody cover yourself if you ain't got cover under the door to people in their houses and in their homes? So you can't do that. No, it says they can do that. They absolutely can do that. Only difference is you're a distributor. No, now all of a sudden you're just an auctioneer. You were just auctioning it off because you're a middle-aged someone, middle-aged chick and a middle-aged man trying to make ends meet, even if it's your second job. You only really go to rock concerts because it's what it is to sort of blend in. Oh, you like rock, you really like that band, but it's no different than having to stumble across the cement concrete at night time in the capital city, and that shit never changes either. Not even the power of the freaking product changes between people's hands quicker enough for you to be seen auctioning it off in private. Wow. What a private affair to say you weren't sort of doing that by yourself. If you don't get paid for your mouth, no one will kiss your ass. And you're not a poxy, you're a pixie, but no, you're a pansy. You're not even related to bloody uncle's brother Chimpan, married into the Z family before Homo sapiens arrived like you. Can't even defend the human race. In Australia, you've got middle-aged women, middle-aged 40s, mid-40s, late 40s, early 50s, who were the Generation X big sisters, just like the big brothers, gammon, into music, DJ. They sing the rap song. They love to sing the rap song, but they don't advocate the rap song. So when it comes time to advocate for the rap song that they were singing, they step back and cry racism. Now they can no longer advocate for what they were so happy to sing for their speech and drama class and the end of year stage play. It's like a form of crying rape or something. They're not really reliant on it. They just do it for the show and tell. So they thieve show and tell. Are people that can't shape sounds. It's one thing to say you can't formulate shapes, but like you tell people to be quiet or appropriate themselves with certain sounds so that the sounds are equal, but you can't shape sounds. It's like people with a bilingual background or people from multicultural backgrounds right around the world pooled in one place called Australia, where you're always telling someone. It's always a classic case of having to fucking tell someone. If something's new, it's like you're trying to steal intellectual property from them, right? You keep staring and perving. You know you want it. You find things so peculiar, like you're a searcher of aliens and discoverer of new fucking things. Everything's gold to you. You sniff up on the side like a gold digger. And therefore you start preaching it like an auction product. And you hide behind the auction product like an agent. Agencies with no stacks, like the agent in the middle. You become the agent provocateur, fomenting unwarranted activity. To unmask what? You'd be the last person to wear the ingratiated mask yourself, because you were singing the song, but then when it comes time to advocate for the song, you back off and cry racism. You don't advocate for it anymore. So it becomes some kind of special something your parents or your people provided for you. On the shelves, in the shops, on the radio, on the TV, on a remote island, giving everybody remote guarantee of who these strange people are. They'll always stare and perv and probe and touch stuff. They're the auctioneer in the middle that needs something to auction. You've got nothing to sell. It's all about your mouth now. And the fact you got no assets as it is, you're always thieving and exporting so quick because you can't protect what you're digging. If it was gold you can't protect, you got to export it for money. Export it for something. Digging holes like a frustrated dog and then fucking pillows and saying that you were coming up with something. And you were thieving the mouth again. It's like you middle ground people, you middle grounds want the rich and the poor and the 24/7 emergency service personnel of this world to pave everything out for you in the end. So that you can find that so-called equality. That's what you call equality. But we're not equal. First place is not fourth place. First place is not seventh place. You don't raise people to be gold medalists and expect them to pretend they're equal with second place. You don't raise experts and claim that they're a customer service assistant or an assistant to a practice manager is not equal with the practice manager or the expert. You don't train people to be equal. You train them to be proud of their achievements and the feats in which they reach. You ask them to pioneer where it's never over. The problem in Australia is you don't train your kids. You're scared of adults, therefore you're no good to children. If you're no good to adults, you're no good to children. The problem is you got great kids or something, everything for the lookalike and the photographs and the image that you wish to set as a standard to present, even as first lady or first man. But the problem is you're not training those children. Everything's supposed to be about a training. Why would you wait for them to finish high school only to finally eventually put them into some form of training? You wonder why you've got so many bullies and so much domestic violence and so much behavioural problems with adults, let alone children, the same ones that are building the home, middle-aged, 50, 40, 30-year-olds with their children, and the schools and the society's the way that it is. You've changed grade 7 now to grade 6 to keep at pace with the American system, and you want to treat young people like adults so that they become mature enough and not misbehave. But the problem is while these children become mature enough in which to adapt to the real world, the big stories every day, like the progressive types, the progressive outcomes and the progression, you're not actually training them in the midst of their maturity, in their non-pubescent or pubescent growth and development. There's no actual real training attached to while they've got multi-faceted tasks in which to perform, like school, like listen to mum and dad, this, there and everywhere. Where's the training at all, period? Martial science is the second most wealthiest transferal of wealth in the history of man, and yet all that ever does is provide a way of training throughout your entire life, like it doesn't explain the journey. Your journey's never over. It provides a way of training you through everything. Now that's what I'm talking about with young people, just like your so-called market or your so-called image. Why do you sing the song? When it comes time to advocate for it, you back off and cry racism. All of a sudden you're not part of the genre. You love to import it and sing it and put it on the radio to keep everybody else happy. When it comes time to advocate, you don't even appreciate the same barbecue doled out by people that you only ever do from your side of the fence. It's the same barbecue, it's the same cotton, and it's the same genre. The only difference between racism and people who are simply not racist is slow. People that are slow. The ones that are slow, that are so quick to catch up to the song, but are so fucking slow to advocate and say, look at the bright side of everything. Because you become too damn serious and we all fall victim to the limitations, just like the so-called image of having to be treated equal. You don't send a helicopter to do a jet's job, right? You don't ask a gold medalist to even fail and bow out in the quarterfinals. Even though they've got to meet that level, you might be equal to get to a certain mini-final or a semi-final, but in order to be a winner, you are not equal with anyone. You've broken free with a separate personality. Your personality is a split personality. You've got a second, third, fourth personality that no one ever knew before. Equal with everyone up until the 300-metre mark in a 1,500-metre race in an Olympic Games tournament that took 4 years to come together, and 4 years in the making with 300 metres to go with an inch of your life, you break free from the pack and everybody's pointing at you and they're calling you a freak. What's that out front? And they're asking all these questions. Why are you so different? Why are you not equal? Why are you not staying back with everyone? Why? Because he's a freak. He's got a split personality. He found a balance. He found a way in which to trigger a balance between private and professional life, which is what it is to step up and switch on and switch off when you need to at times. Life is never over. You people are cutting young people's lives too early, just like you are with adults. You talk about the extension of 21st century business models, and you've already gone and sourced your product or sourced the individuals, and then you've allowed one thing or two things to interrupt or disturb the training, coaching, and development of certain personalities that you were the one in the first place chastising in through custodian or through percentage allocation or sourcing the product itself, unable to do anything with it. Like you might source yourself as an adoption agency, children of high need to receive parents to adopt them. The two parents go ahead and adopt a child from a foreign country or your own country, all part of the agency, which is to provide health and wealth and self-determination and upkeep and everything, a future for those children. Next minute, when it becomes too difficult for those parents or the adoption agency, you go to get rid of them. Who the hell adopts kids only to put them up for adoption? Just like your product, just like the way in which you need a product to auction off. You hide behind the mouth. You sing the song, but you don't really advocate for it. It might just be because you're really good with your fucking mouth. But if you're not good with your mouth, nobody will kiss your ass. You need to get paid for your mouth so that somebody will kiss your ass. Because nobody will kiss your ass unless you get paid for your mouth. Just like the generation marks the spot with X in a historical chronological document that says it was a mystery, it never happened. It might just be that you don't even advocate for your own actions. That's correct. Or you say, Michael Jordan built the school of basketball. He could be a breed of individual and he's not a black man. He's a sportsman. He could be, let's just, in all due respect, Mr. Michael Jordan, you are a god. I believe you are a god. I believe you to be the greatest sportsman in open era, the greatest sportsman of all time in the open era of all athletes right across every respective sport. If I respectively, if you don't mind, my friend, call you a pedigree, a certain pedigree. So I would just relate you for ISO, what do you call it? Like iconoclast sake or something, some kind of icon, right? Without having to, be disrespectful. He could be like a Doberman pensioner in opposed to other dogs. And how many people have seen a Doberman pensioner with extra muscle and have the full trigger inside of its greatest wits and senses come out of a Doberman pensioner? You might forever see a Doberman pensioner, but have you seen people train and coach and develop a Doberman pensioner to get the fullness out of a Doberman pensioner with extra muscle on it and bring out right? It's a hell of a lot different story than the average picture, the average iconoclasm. All of a sudden you're seeing one hell of a pedigree outweigh that of what you might wish you thought you see extra muscle in the face of a Doberman, extra muscle in all of its body, and the senses that have greater ears and greater eyes than most dogs, period. You're going to wish a security guard brought us a German Shepherd or an Alsatian in opposed to a Doberman pensioner raised and reared to its 100% prototype potential. Whole different category of science. So Michael Jordan goes back to the gym, works hard in the gym, gets strong. His mistakes turn out to be his greatest strengths, right? Just like that pedigree. Yeah, the pedigree of Brooklyn, New York City, should I say. Word up. So he builds the school. LeBron James comes along. You see that prototype of the same, let's say, like the basketball player, but like the pedigree, like say the Doberman pensioner again. You're going from 215 pounds to 260 pounds, but now faster than the big guys and too big for the fast guys and too fast for the big guys. Just bringing out what you saw, the pedigree. Just like the damn school. Just like that which you advocate for. Like you were proud to attain the school, the knowledge, but then when it came time to advocate for it, to sing the song, you back off and cry racism or cry rape or something, if you don't mind me saying, pardon me. And then all of a sudden a person's being seen as something different than the school in which they bought and brought and built. Just like God's greatest gift to man. Like school, but a bit like that with songs, but a bit like that with Brooklyn, New York City. If you don't like your school, then go fuck your health. Yeah. Make planet Berkeley great again. Yeah. Kind of saying thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just like Brooklyn having to swallow that like a good pill too, right across the breadth of it. Build the school, hopes for the school, as if the Statue of Liberty is a Berkeley cactus. What is it to be responsible for your own actions if you don't pick yourself up when you fall? People that are faceless and gutless wonders. And you will know them by their institutions and by their nationhoods. You will know them by their marketing share, their percentage, their ability in which to have infinite patience. The ability to count so goddamn hard when you're up against 10 out of 10, 3.6 degree difficulty, synchronized 10-meter diving tandem at Olympics. Tell me what it is to be your best or to use it as the benchmark. You don't ever wish to want to say, I must get rid of that like you got rid of a Jesus. If that was Earth and our galaxy is now the heavens, covering the whole Earth, if you want to take away galaxy suns, you better be up for the fight of your life. Just like the Earth said the same thing. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I see the bright side of everything. But if you don't get paid for your mouth, no one will kiss you on the ass. Sometimes the only people you can trust is perfect strangers. And if they spoke a different language, it's because they're too busy concentrating on the language, which is called the difference. A weight and a difference. Not something you're supposed to be counting so goddamn hard for. Whilst this occurs, you people want to write it down in a big fat notebook, and contrary to public opinion and global notoriety, you want to build your garden off stolen auction productivity. If you don't get paid for your mouth, no one will kiss your ass. Who the hell's going to kiss your ass unless you get paid for your mouth? X marks the spot. Bounce, 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 bounce. Sorry, 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 but shh, thank you. That's right. Why be sorry when you can be thankful or grateful? If you're grateful or thankful, it's like you can be thankful and grateful all in one. Just said grateful. That's like being sorry and thankful at the same time, all in one, rather than an ingratiated mask that looks to sing the song and pretends it and speak it when it comes time to advocate it. Do you do it in silence? Do you do it on the dark side of the moon? Do you hope people kiss your ass? Do you have the ability in which to sanctify logic in opposed to draw upon, age-old excuses and reasons and alibis? If it wasn't the case, you wouldn't be waking up today and going seeking a brand new alibi and excuse through somebody else, just for the partner under your blanket, to say that you couldn't actually feed the partner under your blanket, just like the blanket system. How much worse when you get two? You people do not become fit for sanctimony or sanction. You don't even become fit for auction. You don't become fit for product. You don't become fit for the market, the national identity. You're like adults that thieve off other adults that can't even feed your own family. And there's nothing more incested in the world than adults who thieve from other adults to feed their family. That's what we call incested. Fancy having laws broken in opposed to laws attachments, like annexures that sit underneath you like a crocodile, but won't train a crocodile to growl all the shit out of your ass and to clean your ass when you take a shit in the toilet, or even use toilet paper to serve your food on and retain it in which to wipe your ass, sort of to get, like bang for the buck. Because if you ain't got the paper, however you're supposed to make it, fancy if you didn't have that for someone today. The same platform and foundation that made it. Even for the notoriety schemes that act like a front but style is a front and a legend, who the hell wouldn't want to keep a legend alive? That's why people do stockpile classic vintage products in which are designed for auctions 30, 40 years later to keep the legend alive. If that wasn't the way we burn the fire in our belly and hope that it never goes out, what's the point of singing the song? So I'm asking you, what's the point of distributing and playing the songs? Under the Cutlass Society, we didn't want it. Yeah, it's good to see that you hug your left leg to escape your right leg. Doesn't make sense. Cuspid or not, you just want your two front teeth, which is no different than the cost of having to sink your teeth into every loss and taste and see that it's all good. If you don't like your school, fuck your health. The old classic saying is, knowledge is wisdom and wisdom is understanding. But God has kept these things from the wise and the prudent. The moment you talk to them like this, half of their congregation, let alone the half of their right mind, falls off impotent and separates within 5 minutes, and there starts to be a disturbing, just like the way in which you cut from one song to the next every 5 minutes with your own personal doled out dish like the way you serve it. If you can't stand the heat, you got to stay out the kitchen. But if you can't stand the heat, you got to stay out of your own nut space. Not just step off when it's right for you. Cry racism, cry rape, and it becomes the next novelty approach in which to form legislation and human rights campaigns. If you're a dog digging holes in fucking pillows in the same time and just selling the rocks in the holes, you must be a frustrated people, like a frustrated pedigree of some type of dog. And that's why you've got anything. It's amazing you have anything. But the land, just like the humans, is the same rights in which we're supposed to draw from. It's just a question of whether or not you build the foundation, just like cleaning up your own act. Because if that was the pathway you're on, how do you make crooked paths straight and say, I need to go without that at some stage, and then I need to fall back on my loins. I need to fall back on my own sanction or sanctimony. Knowing what it takes, but some people just turn troubleshooting exercises into conspiracies. Like misery-laden adults that have to deal with their misery-laden children. You tell them 15, 20 times to clean their room up, and they're still sitting in the same pile of garbage, and it turns into a conspiracy rather than just get it done. Where's the language in that? Where's the immediate or infinite patience in which to languish that? Or in which to see people, when it comes time to step up, you're counting so hard. If you know the truth and you push it away, you become hard, and it might not be because you are hard yourself. It might be that you find things so hard that you like being the armchair critic. You like being the commentator. You like being the critique that helps with little fine line details and things like that. And you don't have to be a former player or a former someone that worked in a respective field or categorical science that drew upon the estimates for the primary worth far less than a portion of degree. Our concentrations relate to the education pathway, which says teaching is just telling people, but training is making them do it, just like making children listen or making your employees listen, or the standard and the grade level assessment capabilities of those resource productivity ledgers in which you seek, just like the health and wealth and self-determination of your employees and your machinery. You're acute mental driven, you're acute purpose driven conduct, you're acute your purpose driven conductivity. 2 feet behind the wheel, but 2 hands also. You can't just sort of take your hands off the wheel when it comes time to advocate and back off and say, it's out of my hands now. But if you touch me, I'll sue. Find yourself bravely implicated and involved the entire time. And some people were too busy dishing it out. What would it take to train and then be fit for critique or fit for commentary? Well, it relates to whether or not you're an educator in the end. Because if you're not fit for education, how the hell are you supposed to take the bulk of your immunity and say you even knew what you were talking about? Just like sing the song, but can't advocate for it. But the moment you're stereotype, you're iconoclast, you become a form of humility, and an embarrassment and a fear and a shame enters the world with you, just like the emergency paving of the world underneath you. That's all it's all good intentions. It was just good intentions, you didn't mean it. I didn't find so many people in one place in the world that were just a costume addict and addicted to costumes. I didn't really mean it. I just wanted to fiddle and fumble with it, like people drawn into a sandpit, only to be stolen from in the same sandpit, only to have the sandpit lord over them. Like it's just get over it. She's right, mate. Just get over it. Just get over it. Forget about it. People aren't giving back what they thieve or steal. People aren't stepping up with their greater percentage gains, bargaining skills, capabilities when it comes to the raw deal. You say nothing's impossible. You say, yeah, I find it so impossible. But how can it be possible unless you meet people halfway? We've had enough. You just bully us, bully us, bully. Bully just sounds like whoever at the time needs to hold on to theirs because they're sick of being stolen from. Where do you get the infinite patience to say, oh yeah, you can talk, you can't even wipe your ass? And your influence causes little this, little that, little bloody everywhere. It's always just little things, but how can any great big picture in the world be taken care of? Or how can any great big picture in the world be made clear until all little things are taken care of? Just like the articulations and improving and bolstering and broadening the spectrum field in which produces the fine detail. Like you say, you didn't perfect it, it's your time to get bashed or belted. That's just like bad parents that tell their own kids, don't, stop it, listen to me, and they never get anything done. You resonate from your own submission. It's like sort of cutting and running. Whenever it's bad for you, you'll hit a child. You just never get anything done. You never even trained him in the meantime. You'll say it's difficult. I've had it, I can't do it anymore. And then you put it up for adoption. It goes back to school. It learned nothing between school and home. Some people, it's just a monetary exercise that says you wouldn't do it unless it was for the money. Yeah, you mightn't have sang the song unless it was for the tunes. So the people fine-tune themselves into your presence so you can escape getting bashed or flogged by your own parents, but no, they were too busy, your fellow societal someones. All they wanted just to do, I suppose, right, was behave just like everybody else in the school. But if you're too busy trying to escape even to some degree, you just want people to nod their heads so you can escape being questioned or up close and personal with just a bit of critique or criticism. so righteous, but you're probably the greatest hypocrites of all. And if that's not bad enough, I'll ultimately finish it where you say people try to have never wiped an ass in their entire life only to go on to become the fashion police. And they're licensed bearers of certain market and industry and psychology and say, oh, we're monitoring and we're assessing. But it might just be that you're kind of frigid and not really fit for the assessment because, of course, the world around you closed in, but you were the one backed out. Never wiped an ass in your entire life, and you go on to you call yourself the fashion police. Just the same way in which you fashion things to your own advantage, just like the very measly and dismal settlement cases, arbitrating, conjectural dynasties coming to an end because you want fish on your plate, but you can't catch fish. You want to drive a car, such a lethal weapon, but you can't even fix a car. Whereas all the insurance policies and the bodgy insurance cover in the world, and you damn well know that's the fashion, and you're the first one to take their word for it, even when there's a car crash, or even when there's a little ding or a nick or something that can be solved. But if they're too poor for license, they're too poor for trait. And it might just be that they cannot cover it, period. That's why they were too busy paying somebody else to cover them, like an emergency. So quick to sing the song, but when it comes time to advocate for it, you back out. Either you know your grounds or your traffic or you don't. How much more clear can this be seen in a world that demonstrates such dynasty? Where you want to drive a car but you can't fix it. How the hell are you allowed to have a license even in radio and television? If you force feed the songs to us on the radio, and anybody can tune in, everyone got the advertisement. But if you're on Facebook or Instagram or a YouTube account and you can't even upload one song where you've only got 6 subscribers or 200 friends, that only 6 friends or only 200 subscribers would possibly fall, trip, land on a song that they would choose themselves and sing. Fancy if there was a sting operation thieving everything people uploaded as if intellectual property was exactly what Australia does. Because they're so short of a breadth, just let alone an anomaly. Because if you're such a remote guarantee, you're a remote thief. And no train to Timbuktu to assess the gold in your McScrooge McDuck treasure chest. Just like the radio station that can't even continue without songs from somebody else's breastplate of righteousness to feed the audience while you take a breath to go and talk shit the way you do about whatever commentary or topic or critique or criticism. When in the end, I don't think people need to take words seriously, just like the fatal use of grammar, or pretend we don't use the same dictionary when we step up in which to bear the hammer and tong or the hammer and nail. As if no different to say, motherfucker, I will huff and puff and blow your fucking head off. Just for being a fucking sook about something that you already knew. You can't forsake something, period, unless you know it. Fancy using somebody else's pain and suffering as advocacy in which to stop everything in the midst of talking the fuck about it. Just like the song. Just like the N-word, or just like having to treat someone respectfully like your friend without having to by perfectly excusing yourself by referring them to a specific pedigree or the school in which built the entire world for you to see the results for yourself. The interstellar clouds produce who you are, when you are, how you are, and where you were supposed to, They're having to say, man, your mum is so fat that I told her to go to sleep. She just stood there, closed her eyes, and woke up at the crack of dawn. Only to wink at the kettle and make you breakfast. We all have a part to play in this world, but really, if you weren't creating something, that something was just a provision for you and you were hiding behind it just like insurance, hoping that people will like you. I don't see any fruits of that labor. So one up to the gods is like saying, yeah, dogs and cats are trying to rule the world, but which one? Well, if dogs rule and cats suck, that's already one up for the dogs. And that might as well be no different than cutting through like a medium, true equality, the one that doesn't have to draw a lighter and put it in the air like a vigil or a commemoration, just like the one that doesn't have to draw from a song from the radio. The one that says the dog speaks a language. I'm pretty sure cats don't. So therefore, how are you supposed to know what you're in for unless somebody else has already taken the track or taken the path, sung the song, identified it, barked it out, sussed it out, and then when they step back, it's up to you. And they love being part of it. I know it's a harsh statement to make. I'm not illustrating anything other than just simply the choreographed estimates in which we put together like left and right, right and left. That sometimes our weaknesses are our strengths. That if you're only as strong as your weakest link, then you're only as weak as your strongest privilege as well. Fancy having to be force-fed. No different than accepting that sexuality is fluid. Sexuality isn't fluid. It's one thing but then you might be a very small percentage, right, that draws from the same cup as everybody else. That just sounds like an incoherent fashion of people that cannot soundly instruct lawyers correctly. Like a key to an ignition relates to also a rendition stronger than a rehearsal or even a reversal trend. Because diversity is stronger than, and diversity is more important than university. By the time you tell me you know what color is, but you won't even allow colors to evolve, and if you ain't got more than 30 colors in your color kit, stop stopping colors. Stop stopping those colors. It might take half a lifetime for a certain color, just like a certain employee works for a certain cover or a certain 21st century prototype extensionality, an extensive territory, where it's one thing to say you don't formulate the plot and scheme or know what it is to cover someone, even though if you don't guard the greater good, how are you supposed to have a maturity or an integrity that safely guards the business or the code, the one that says you're not a color, you're actually a human. So therefore, like the interstellar clouds, you're not required to dig a hole and be up to your elbows and eyeballs in grease and oil and shit if you weren't supposed to be bloody dirty. Only to give the estimates and the full-scale summary in the worksheet, the service report, about what it took, only for people to disregard it and never understood what it took to be the only people around with all the humility wearing it. You don't just pretend that people are supposed to get dirty up to their elbows and eyeballs and not advocate them or pay for them. Some people have a language like old men and old ladies where they leave all their frustrations at the door rather than lay it out on their family and friends just through a mouth, just by saying what they want, frustrated. They work all day and night. They come back. There might be tensions in any area. But the one everlasting thing that those guys look for is a pat on the back, and a pat on the back doesn't even make a sound, and it might be the overwhelming difference in the end that keeps the health of those people that, even as they be sole providers, damn well know they're the sole provider and nobody else ain't providing anything that they're playing with. No divide, no spoil people are playing with other than that man or that lady or that, whoever. Only a pat on the back can solve it, because all their frustrations were left at the door. Well, everybody else just revolved it, just like that goddamn song or track in store that sort of comes back and smacks back at us in political, religious, scientific, social, and civil ingenuity, unable to tell the difference between genuine satire in opposed to scientific ingenuity. If you don't understand what satire is, how the hell are you people supposed to advocate for genetically modified or genetically engineered productivity? Because fancy being senators not knowing what the word genuine is, when they're questioning what genuine satire is, when you're a radio station and you breach hospitals like King Edward VII through the private and awaited expectant birth of the Prince of the Westminster, the Prince William and Princess Kate. You still get around just calling them Will and Kate like they're a gal and a guy. No, they're actually a prince and a princess. And so therefore, fancy having to claim somebody's child as your very own before it's even born. So quick to sing the song, but when it comes time to advocate for a murder mystery or you know, the poor announcement or the unfortunate announcement of a death as a result of an Australian radio station breaching Prince Edward VII Hospital before and through the expectant, right? And you don't know what genuine satire is to break the laws like that. That's the example of people like radio stations and televisions that when you breach privacy and right, that you are going to jail for 2 years straight minimum. And that is a prince and a princess. They ain't no goddamn prime minister. So therefore the prime minister is the mediator and the equal that finds a way in which to keep you out of jail as much as to defend those gentlemen's and those ladies' children. And if royalty don't pick up on the fact, how the hell are the royalty supposed to protect their children? Just like to become the example family in which they expect not everybody to model themselves like, but the one in which has to face the humility of wearing the ethics and all the muck and crap and everything too. And to be proud beyond yourself, where you're not a colour, you're not a specific dress code. You're just someone that struggles with that very condition, the condition of subject to it, but still live and abide. But damn well you need to be seen as royal, and damn well you need to be seen as honourable, because you wouldn't see anybody else doing it. So it doesn't take much to be able to stop and give people a few kind words every day, even to be able to defend them in private, just like the songs that you sang today and yesterday. Fancy if it was all for show and tell, and you people still in the 21st century, in the year 2020, all throughout have been thieving your show and tell, only to become that misdemeanor formed in recruitment agencies and marketing companies, where your job just becomes Counsellor Anonymous, getting paid whatever the company hands you out per annum. And you're getting paid pure commission or photographs. And getting paid pure commission off your mouth. Getting pure commission of people kissing your ass. And all you were was a steering mechanism that sent people to the insurance company rather than the immediate scene where all the sounds were being shaped. Some people might like sound. Some people may wish to form sound or ask for certain sound. But can you shape the sound? So that if you ask people to be quiet, you better make sure that you provide a negotiable platform, a negotiable foundation, so that sounds won't be made outside of the control in which those shapes operate. Rather than have to make a noise and find something underneath a pile of rubble or something. To make a noise just to kickstart that, it might just kickstart somebody's ability to talk their head off for an hour because too many sounds have accumulated based on the inability to formulate shapes to your own advantage, which is no different than trip, falling, landing, and never been able to get up, or what it's like to be a victim tuning into a radio. And it was all right for the radio station, it's all right for us to practice and play people stuff, but it's not all right for other people. That it's all right to show 190,000 people point blank without them knowing it's hitting them in the temple. But it's not all right for people to carefully choose amongst themselves, amongst a group of 200 or 6 subscribers, whether they choose to ask whether they quickly choose to help themselves in their friend's house or their friend's pantry or their friend's shelves, just like the song, the track. You don't mind if you put it back, you can use it, but that's what happens at the other end of the publishers and the production labels. They've already solved it from their end. So they've already accepted and given approval for us to play that song. Fancy if all you did was socially engineer or civilly engineer people only to tune into certain stuff, but we don't need to believe that. That's obvious enough. The problem is why we're listening through your eyes. Like, why are you supposed to see the world through somebody else's eyes if you're only supposed to learn from your own mistakes? Then what is it to carefully negotiate your own platform rather than to accept that Facebook is something that people just trip, fall, land and never get up, or YouTube? It's a far cry from reality. Why would somebody tune into you with 6 subscribers when the song in which you were singing has 300,000 people singing it right now as we speak? To worry that if someone tuned into your world, they would be up for a copyright review. No, it just might mean that the reason why the person played the song or sung the song was supposed to lead up to some important point that only a music could make some kind of serenade or synchronized sense of. Is that correct? No. It just meant that you wish that hopefully someone one day would actually listen to it. You didn't force feed them at all. Just like the emergency system that asked the rich and the poor and the 24/7 emergency service personnel to solve all the middle classes' problems. Just like the parallel circumstance of financing people anyway, or keeping certain decision-making capabilities from the rich and the powerful and influential, while the poor can barely even get a step through the gate or the front door, where the reception, just like the secretary, was too busy even picking up the phone call for them anyway. Just like the damn rendition or the damn song, let alone the speech and drama. If it was a cuisine, I didn't know it was supposed to be pungent in it and marinated and spiced in Asian. If it was Germany anchored to Europe or Europe anchored to Germany, how does that relate to Australia anchored to Asia or Asia anchored to Australia? I thought Australia was too busy trying to be Asia's police officer. How the hell does that work when you can't even negotiate 5 cents from your till in a wager? I don't think your boss or your family or your people even trust you. But if that's anything to do with the ledger, it's no different than having to be a tender, poor, sore-foot operator when it comes to the bruises or the fear or the shame or the embarrassment of having to perform sing the song. When it comes time to advocate for it, you wouldn't even pay for it yourself. Some people, some great people, they let your 5 cents or 10 cents for this and that. But they do all throughout Asia. Fancy if in Australia all you were was not even an Achilles heel, you were some kind of plug to a sink that needs, that needs to be drained, not just have a hole clogged up all the time or a brand new hole. It just creates a flimsy system, just like a punctured tire. You can't just keep puncture kit in a tire until you got to replace the whole tire, no matter how rich and how wealthy and whatever you're worth, even through illustration and imagination. It only takes replacement. It only takes to be able to put it through the ringers. But if you're the ones auctioning it off every day, then it's no different than wanting to be paid for your mouth so people can kiss your ass, wrapping yourself in disturbing colours, fake colours, false colours, fraudulent colours, fake frauds and falsified peoples, like agents in the middle without stacks that are playing with the owners and the tenants' livelihoods and all their personal belongings. And the agent's the only one getting a percentage and the tenants the ones in the end that are dishing out all of the reasons everybody signed the contract for, only to keep the owner happy. Fancy if the agent was paid to be liable for everything and all they did was rip the tenant off. It's just like people tuning into your radio to find you were fake. If you don't like your school, fuck your health. And whether it's you as the human that picks up on it through ingenuity or, tuity or even, say, come on, Pebbles. I'm sure the dog thinks it. Come on, Pebbles. Come on, come out, Pebbles, come on. Hey, Pebbles. Hello, Pebbles. You come out, little frock top, little tutti frutti, little magic wand. Yeah, the mole gets it. I think the dog wants it. You probably want it. Just like a frustrated dog that digs holes in fuck pillows. There might be something in there. The apple never falls too far from the tree, but the carrot never falls too far from the diamond. Yeah, the crystal ball never falls too far from the bottle you're drinking. Yeah. So how would you not be the mole in a hole looking to listen out to everything? All you need is little earmuffs and call yourself a pebble without a flaw. Yeah. So the crystal ball never falls too far from the blood you're drinking. Yeah. Damn straight. Amen. Taste and see the Lord is good, man. Yeah, we like all kinds of stuff. We like all kinds of stuff. You just got to put salt and pepper. It accommodates for everyone equally. Yeah, bad cooks accommodate for everyone equally. I'm pretty sure that don't go together. Pepper goes well with meat. But salt, accumulates on your skin. It might take 40 years to get it. Just like a special salt you search the end of the earth for, but you're too busy saying to people it was stinking, but it was actually too busy producing. Like rocks and sediments and igneuses and all kinds of, formations and crap like that. Yeah, no, you were too busy biting something too much. You're touching what you couldn't afford, or making promises you can't keep, or writing a check your mouth couldn't cash, just like when you bit off more than you chew, and you did or didn't chip your teeth. Yeah. A bit like people that jump in the booth and try to balk and torment people, but they're too busy trying to lay down their sheets. Those sheets that you got to wrap yourself in like a cocoon, like snug as a bug in a rug. Coming to a fat bitch theatre near you. You know that one? Yeah. Yeah, the theatre that Whoopie Daisy built. Whoopie Daisy. Yeah. High knee lift filth. Absolutely. A perfect interpretation is to reasonably discern a reference to scale and permittance. But then the word permittance is an intangible affair. It's tangible but intangible. No different than the entrapment of feature. And so the perfect defined outcome is one to be seen as one that does not dominate the margins. Like the perfect score, be it the number one, is represented by the word infinite. 1 equals infinite. So infinicy is represented through the number 1. For example, the number 0 is represented by a word that means absolute. So 0 is a number that is defined by absolution. And of course, it's people's stupid itineraries, be it their shortfalls. Where you find the features, it might be privy to subject notoriety, and there might be a case of popularity or populace that makes people derive the input, or the imprint, should I say, that castrates the fears of people to adopt, but then to perfectly negotiate, be it wage and execute law, or to define law, to perform law, or to be in perfect synchronism or synergy with lawful abode, or what it is to be lawful abode. Like the word law, you say you are allowed to have an interest in something. It's lawful. One of the pillars of law is that you may, or you can, be allowed to show an interest in something, or to have an interest. It could be a thing of interest, a person of interest. There could be something that defines what law, L-A-W or L-O-R-E. So it is lawful. The pillar of law is that you can have an interest in something. But law means that if you ask a question, you are not perfectly entitled to an answer. Just like a game of Tiggy. This stems in if you were to expect or to stand over or abuse influence when it comes to law, gravitational law, universal law, the perfect marginal description of law as defined through absolution in 0 and infinity in 1 means that if a person expects an answer for a question after showing interest, that might be seen as like not a pillar of law in any artistic way, shape, form, fashion, nor capacity, but to instantly identify one with seizure. So if you expected an answer for a question, so you may have an interest in things in this life. That is what is lawful or law. That's a pillar of law. L-A-R-L-O-R-E. But the moment you expect an answer for a question that you impose, lawful or not, of course, defining if you expect it or wish to believe that you're entitled to, this may be called seizure. It might also be called contamination. Understand law? Like poetic license in opposed to poetic justice. Then it could also be called a blemish. It may also be defined or seen as deface, to deface or defacement of that lawful abode. The greater synergy that promotes infinity. The greater law, the greater abode, the greater synergy that rests with absolution.
Roll around! You hear me? Roll around on the ground!
Forget that! I'm starting to swell up!
Save yourself! Don't be the hero!
Frank, I'm allergic to bees. Me too.
They're huge and they sting crazy!
We'll come back later and check on you. Yeah, I don't want.
Save yourself!
Your firearms are useless against them!
Stop your cage and let forth like a gauge. The stage gets wrecked by what the stage put on page. Cause I put a pen in motion with the notion of eliminating static, using lyrical tactics. I feel
Open your ears, you motherfucker!
I tell him rest up,